What is up, guys? We are live. Welcome back and welcome in. My name is Mountaineer Paul, and you've landed here again at another episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football and not basketball for today. We will be doing a March Madness bracket over on Who's from the Hills. So, Kuz and I will probably be going live over there tomorrow, I would imagine. So, we're trying to wait for some info to come out about the coaching search that isn't. It's one of these three guys, and we're not sure who. So it's that's kind of where it's stuck for now. And also, nobody on our end has entered the portal yet, although there's some hints that it may happen. But that's not what this is about. This is about spring ball. It's a week away. It's a week away, guys, and I've got the itch. Do you got the itch? I want to know. Let me know down below, guys. Do you got the itch for West Virginia MF and football? Because it's about to come take all our pain away, or it's about to come give us a lot of pain. I choose to believe this year is a year where it's going to take some pain away for us, guys. It's going to give us some respite away from what's just been an incredibly difficult span of time for Mountaineer fans in basketball, football, what have you, right? We did have the decent year last year, but it really wasn't enough, We didn't beat any good teams. We didn't really win on the road. There's a lot of things I can look to personally that discourages me about last year and gives me trepidation about this year. But cool. Robert Gurney, hello from Thousand Oaks, California. Go Ears, Robert. Thank you for joining. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, brother. I'm glad to have you. So we're 1 week out from spring football, and we're 12 days away from the spring game, which is exciting, and we're hoping for good weather for that. You never know how that's going to be. I'm kind of starting to lose hope on my Pat McAfee inspired spring game that I had an idea for the way, for Kirk Herbstreit. That was the way I was hoping he could pay back his debt, for the 6 wins that he lost to McAfee, and hasn't seen anything about that. We kind of figured the way he sprung it on there, so that it was going to be that way. Before we get any further, guys, let's say thank you and honor Dutch Miller. As always, guys, sponsor for this channel and a couple other channels that we do. So let's start off with this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today to the home of friends and family pricing. Only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. All right. So if you want to control the topic of discussion in here, obviously that super chat button is below. We would welcome it very much so. We're going to donate to Paul's PC fund, or we can call it the way that Paul can feed his cats. Whichever one you want to go for that makes you feel better about it. That's the one we'll go with. I agree, Curtis. D316 said WVU trying to make this a huge spring game, and here sits the Kirk Herbstreit bet with Pat McAfee. I just think it's so perfect. Don't think it's going to happen, but we can hope. So, first of all, I think I'm going to talk about the portal a little bit. I'm just starting to dig into it. John Cunningham's stupid. Just starting to dig into it a little bit, and WVU hasn't offered any names in the portal yet, but they're going to. And they have very limited opportunities as far as visits left. I think they've got 3 left. They can have 3 visitors left this year. The NCAA did approve the scholarship limit to go up. I think it was 10 the other day. So, we could see quite a few walk-ons possibly. Maybe even some walk-ons that are being paid through NIL. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I do think the portal is going to play a factor, guys, in the rest of this spring and summer for West Virginia. I do think they feel pretty good about where they're at in the secondary, but I think they would still add another piece there if they could. They want to give themselves as many options back there as possible so they can finally have a good starting duo on the quarterback side of things. I feel confident about the group. I really do. I think Montre Miller's got a chance to land at one of those starting quarterback slots, and then the Northwestern transfer. Both Northwestern transfers probably are going to start for us guys. I've watched a lot of tape on them here in the past 2 weeks, and both of them are better than what we had. Just excuse me, my opinion. Really like Joseph at the free safety spot, guys. He is really a lot like Aubrey, but can play the spear. He can play the boundary a little bit. He really kind of moves around a bunch of different spots, and where Anthony Wilson is deficient, he is pretty good. He's a guy that is really rangy. He's got good ball skills. I think he took one back to the house in Northwestern, or almost did. And so once he gets the ball in his hands, he's really good there. So I really like the way the secondary is coming along. It's still some work to do. Obviously, they got a lot of gelling to do. Much like any team, whether it's offensive line, defensive line, usually the secondary mirrors itself in one way or another, and those guys have to get on the same page. Hopefully, they play a lot more man coverage this year because at the end, just that zone coverage, it's good to jump into it when you've got the matchup, when you've got a team that you feel like that's maybe porous, throwing the ball a little bit. But when you get against a guy like Bowman last year, who was just kind of pinpoint accurate in spots all over the field, he really tore us apart last year, and the zone was not helping us, to say the least. Moving to a 3-4 defense is going to be interesting. I think it's going to help us. It's more of a traditional base defense, obviously, and I'm sure there are some 3-3-5, 4 concepts in it. I'm not really sure until we see it on the field. It's going to be interesting, but I do know that it was predicated and really moved. They moved that way so that we can play more man coverage, which is great news. And then the guys that they gotten out of the portal really speak to that. When you start to look at the defensive line and some of the things they've done on the defensive line, I'm really impressed with, number one, who they have up and coming on the defensive line, and number two, who they've really brought in to play along the defensive line. Obviously, the TJ, my guy, the Troy transfer, who I was able to have on the show, was a big one, and really he's such a powerful, explosive defensive end. It's really he can play. He's a 3-down guy, and that's important to have. And he, I think he's probably going to gain a few pounds. He's probably that 260-ish range right now. Don't be surprised if he doesn't get up to that 270, 275 range. But I was really excited when he came to Morgantown, and watching his tape at Troy. Like I said, he really excels coming off the edge. He's got a really nice hip movement. He's got good bend. The rip that he uses coming off the edge is amazing, guys. It's so powerful, and he's got a couple moves off of the rip. And if you don't know what a rip is, all it is a classic. Obviously, when an offensive lineman's arms are extended, there's two basic moves to the rip: is the club and the rip. And the club obviously detaches the lineman's hands from your body, and the rip gets you leverage up underneath the shoulder pads of the offensive lineman, and he does a really good job at that. He does work a swim move off of it and other things, but I don't want to get too technical and bore you guys with all that. But So look for TJ to show out. And then you know to look at a guy like Cameron Russell. I think he's going to step up in the middle. Obviously, Eddie B and guys like that are mainstays there at this point. But I don't know, man. You know, I think we're going to be okay there. Maybe we add a guy. Obviously, Fator Mulba is going to be big. But we're going to have to get stouter in the run game this year, guys. And we face the best running back in the country this year. You know, I mean, well, there's a few really good running backs in this conference, and more than a few. And that's not counting like a Cam Rising. Guys like that are extremely good from the quarterback position, running the ball. And then you look at that linebacking room and you think it's really young, it's really inexperienced, but man, the upside is there for them to be possibly the best in the league, guys. And I just don't think that's a stretch. It all really starts with Trey Lathan if he can stay healthy. I think he got enough snaps under his belt last year to really get comfortable. I think he's really going to come into his own this year. Josiah Trotter Jr. is a kid that has the pedigree. Obviously, we know that. His dad was one of the greatest middle linebackers of all time, you know, my lifetime anyways, you know, and really loved how he played the position. So he's been taught how to play that position from a very young age, and he's going to do an incredible job. Consider him way further ahead than most kids like him that have never played a snap. You get to looking around a little bit more on the defense, and you see guys like Ben Cutter, a true freshman that was thrust into duty last year, had to play a bunch of snaps that necessarily wasn't supposed to play yet. He was undersized. He didn't have the muscle. He didn't have the weight that he really needed to have, and yet he still made some plays. I think Ben Cutter's a guy athletically that fits what they're trying to do. He's not a sideline-to-sideline guy. He can do it, but it's not what I would consider his forte. He's a more in the box type linebacker that's smart, that reads coverage inside the box and makes plays in between the tackles. And I think they're going to find ways for him to do that. So there are more people than that, obviously, in the linebacking room, guys. But the total, the defense as a whole, I think is going to improve possibly 30, 40 spots this season. I really do. I think it's going to be a lot better. It just depends on, number one, this new 3-4 defense, obviously, that we're implementing is going to be – it's going to be a big deal. And all these kids adjust to it's going to be pretty big. I think they're going to do okay because I think they're going to simplify it at first and try not to get so – out there like they had in the past. So that's going to be fun to see. And then the offense, guys. I think we all know this offense is got a chance to be the best one we've had probably. You look maybe since 2012. I know that's a big say, but that Geno Smith team was such a great offensive team as far as airing the ball out. They had nowhere near the balance this team has. Garrett has to get better in between the numbers. That's the first thing as far as if you want to talk about this offense going to the next level. Garrett has to get better at throwing the ball at intermediate, right? He's done – it's not even – I can't even really put a track on it because I wasn't expecting him to grow like he did last year. Obviously, if you go back to this time last year, I wanted Nico Markell to start. And I thought he was going to be the guy just based off talent. And Garrett Green shut me up, you know, and I'm glad to admit that. But the growth that he had was what I wasn't expecting. He grew probably 3 or 4 times more than I expected him to last year. Garrett Green, there are some people that mention his name in the Heisman discussion this year, guys. Certainly the Big 12 Player of the Year discussion, maybe Offensive Player of the Year. Think about this. Garrett Green had a top 10 all-time rushing season last year for a quarterback. So that's pretty big, you know? And a lot of that did have to do with his improvisational skills, but also the quarterback run game. I think they did a really good job scheming that thing up. And he missed 2 games, guys. He had a top 10 all-time rushing season last year and was injured. So it's pretty wild that he was able to do that. And then you think about, like, this Penn State team has no idea who they're about to face. Gene White, he didn't even play until the end of the season. We all know that. And had almost 800. Oh, yeah, had one close to 800 yards rushing, and probably you could probably safely say, based on talent, he could be a top 3 back in the league this year. Reminds me a lot of Deuce Vaughn. It's going to be wild to see how that. What's up, Silas? It's going to be wild to see how he adjusts. But the offensive line is obviously, you guys know, I love this offensive line. And Zach Frazier, the loss of Zach Frazier, I think I saw Mo Carpenter or somebody like that. Was that you, Mo, a minute ago? Yeah. He said, I know we lost Zach, but I'm hearing through the grapevine that the O-line as a unit is going to be better than last year. That's scary. WVU offense is going to be deadly. And while I do agree with that, Mo, I mean, obviously you can't replace Zach Frazier, but here's what can happen. Obviously, Wyatt Mullen can get a year better, right? That can happen, which is pretty scary considering he gave up basically no sacks. Also, Doug is a big loss too, I will say. And then Tomas Remak, who was really been unsung hero on the offensive line, doesn't get talked about a whole lot. Can get a year better. And look, he's one of the best guards in the conference. Really, nobody talks about him. He's a good player. I think he's going to step up and possibly get on that all-conference line this year. And I'll tell you this. Since Zach Frazier, there's no doubt about it, Kyle Altuner is the best offensive lineman we've had come through those doors. Name a guy based off of freshman or senior tape, high school tape, who he played against in high school. His dad, if you go to my X page at Paul Mountaineer and look up Tony Altuner, his dad, Kyle Altuner literally dominated 4- and 5-star guys all off season long. He's got a compilation of him pancaking tons of 4- and 5-star guys. And he's going to be trying for center, guys. This is a guy I've already predicted that Kyle Altuner will be starting somewhere on the offensive line by the end of the year because he's that good. As long as Neil Brown's not too scared to play a young guy. What's up, Shaggy in West Virginia with the $4.99 super chat? Appreciate that, brother. So I hope we can get to 10 wins. A lot depends on how the secondary comes together. I think making the playoffs is a stretch with the tough schedule. And that's a fair, objective way to look at it, Shaggy. I can't disagree with that. Certainly, I think this team is a dark horse in the conference to possibly make the title game or be in the top 4 for the title game. You know, that's kind of why I labeled it that. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. And, you know, so we'll see. His name is Garrett Green, 6 Heisman. He can't wait until football. Me neither, brother. He predicted a victory. Dan Johnson, he predicted a victory over Penn State. Really don't think they know what they're getting into or walking into. You can't replace great players all the time, but collectively they can be a great line again. Yeah, like I said, Kyle Altuner, guys. If you're not familiar with Kyle Altuner, go check out his tape. He's another Zach Frazier to me. That's a lot to throw on a kid, I know. And when I had Kyle Altuner on the show, he didn't like that I compared him with Zach Frazier. I'll just tell you that now. He said he wanted to be the best Kyle Altuner he could be. If you want to see that episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football with WVU offensive lineman Kyle Altuner, it's probably been within the last 2 months. You go back through some of the videos, you'll find it. It was a good interview. He's an extremely competent kid, and he comes from a powerhouse program there at Good Counsel High School in Maryland. So I do think he's got a shot to. But even if he doesn't, you know, I think where the funnest battle, if you're looking at the offensive line, is on the right side with Malone and Bosley. Xavier Bosley was only a freshman All American last year, albeit in the Conference USA. On tape, he's the best run blocker they had as a freshman, and they were a top 10 rushing team last year. Obviously, this is a Rich Rod offense, very similar zone run blocking scheme that we run, and so the fit is great. He turned down money from Kentucky. He turned down more money. I promise you. I know you guys. A lot of you guys know this. I was fortunate enough to be able to break the news that Xavier Bosley committed to West Virginia. He allowed me to do that. And I can still to this day consider that to be a huge honor that he let me do that. But so obviously I'm a little biased there, but he was a freshman All American. I think a year with Mike Joe and those guys. And you look at Bosley, I think he's got a real shot to win that job on the right side. It all depends on how good his pass pro is. Nick Malone may be able to hold him off, but I think Bosley's going to end up winning that job too. He was offered a lot of money to go to Kentucky, an SEC school that is also a really great running team. And they really know how to identify talent there. So I have faith that he's going to be a good player for us. Don't forget to like the video, guys. As always, drop a comment below and let me know what is your prediction for spring football. Do you have any predictions in the position battles? Who do you predict is going to win a position battle? Is there one that you're looking at or thinking about? Maybe it's a corner, maybe it's an offensive line room, maybe it's a linebacker. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how excited are you going to the spring game. And then tell me what your prediction is for the 2024 season. I would love to know that. He said special teams is what needs work. Absolutely. I think we need to, I think Rodney Gallagher will play a part in that this year, especially. He's a kid that I think has a lot of return ability. Certainly, Darius Farmer is another one, guys. You turn the tape for Darius Farmer. We haven't had a guy like him with cut ability like that. I don't want to say the name for Tavon, but similar to Tavon in his cut ability. If you haven't seen Darius Farmer tape yet, go check it out. No, I have him starting opposite of Montre. I really do think Montre Miller is going to win a job. He's that good. He just didn't have a chance last year. His Toledo tape is super impressive, guys. He was a lockdown defender for them and really, really played well for them. Had he not gotten injured for us, I think he would have helped us a lot last year. But the Lord works in mysterious ways, and I think Montre Miller is possibly going to be our quarterback number one this year. He's that good. TJ Crandall is going to have a say in this race. Athletically, he's the most impressive corner on the roster, possibly out of Colorado State. Transferred in. Obviously, guards out of Duquesne is another guy to watch. They have added and infused, although some of these are lower level guys, these are all guys that are 6 feet or above with long arms and what I would consider athletic profiles. Cradle's got incredible hips and ball skills. The kid Garnes out of Duquesne has incredible technique, and he wins with a lot of technique. Montre Miller is an athletic kind of freak and really knows he can really run. And so those three guys are all going to be in the mix, and they'll all play a bunch of snaps. You don't play the same two corners all the time. You have different packages and stuff like that. So I think you look for TJ Crandall, Aiden Guards, Montre Miller, all three to play a bunch of snaps this year, and the Northwestern kid. What's up, guys? Don't forget to go subscribe to Kuz's Corner if you haven't done so. Also, Kuz'sCorner.com is one of the best newspaper or one of the best he's got several writers that work for him that actually go to the events. So he's always got good stuff going on there. and it's a website that's actually starting to grow a little bit. So go check out Couz'sCorner.com and our shared channel together, Who's from the Hills. Couz, I guess we can go live. I was telling them maybe we can go live tomorrow and get this bracket started. There's 130 of you guys in here. Let me know down below. Would you guys be interested in doing an NCAA bracket? Because Couz and I are going to. It's going to be a $10 buy-in. We'll have winners. It's going to be on the ESPN site, so you'll be able to track it yourself, and we'll figure out how to get the money, paid in, whether that's through Venmo, Cash App, whether you super chat it to us, however it happens. We're going to have a specific day and time for that. And Matthew Swanson said, yeah, 100%. We've had several people that want to jump in, guys, and it's going to be a good payday. So for whoever wins that thing, and it's a $10, it's $10. So I think that'll be fun. We will figure it out. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and it's just for fun, guys. It's also to help kind of promote the channel a little bit. But tune in to Who's from the Hills tomorrow, guys. If you follow me on X or Couz on X, we'll try to give a little bit more of a warning tomorrow so you'll know when to tune in. But if you want to, Couz can put his PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App in there right now, I'm sure. And you can send money even as early as now. And we're going to start the bracket, so we'll have you in there either way. So just whatever you guys feel comfortable with that, or if you're not comfortable with it, we understand that too. Drum Wolf, what's up, brother? Yeah, we're going to try to do it. So I want to talk about the schedule a little bit. I think let me get another phone here. Pull this up really quick. Because I think obviously with this schedule there is some worry to be had. Let's see. WVU football schedule 2024. Okay. So it's such a tough schedule. It really, truly is. Penn State, you get the Albany game. And what's great about the first two games is they're at home, obviously. We're going to have to come out of those first two games, or those first three games, 2-1. The Pitt game is back in Pitt. And look, they really showed out. They may not always show up, but Couz said Couz's Corner. If you want to go ahead and donate your $10 to the Bracketology thing, guys, Couz will write your name down. If you send it on Cash App or Venmo or wherever you can send your email address or your phone number possibly or something like that. But we'll definitely be able to get back. Email will probably be easier. We'll get back in contact with you and let you know what's going to be. We'll add you to the ESPN Bracketology Challenge, some way or another. Couz knows how to do it all. He did it last year. So, but looking at this schedule, guys, obviously the Penn State game is it could be the toughest game of the year for us. I really do think Penn State is going to be a little better than they were this past year, especially if Bro Pabula, I have a hard time saying his last name, ends up being a quarterback or plays a bunch of packages. He's super dangerous, and Koldenicki's not afraid to use two quarterbacks. That's the other thing with Penn State. Anthony Koldenicki is one of the most gifted offensive minds we've seen. He's actually modernizing offense this late in the game in football history. Some of the offense they ran at Kansas, we saw firsthand exactly what that was like. The Albany game should be a blowout. Hopefully we get our players rested for the backyard brawl. Hopefully we don't have to put a lot on tape for that game. and so we can have a few new wrinkles. And then Kansas comes to town. So that's, a little top heavy on the home games. That's 3 of the first 4 games are home games, guys. That means that's a lot of road games towards the end of the year, unfortunately. And then you see it here. You got Oklahoma State on the road, which we've just done absolutely terrible there. Iowa State comes to West Virginia, which has been back and forth no matter where it's been at. Kansas State at West Virginia, which has been back and forth no matter where it's been at. When they've really dominated us of late. And then Arizona on the road, which could be the toughest game of the year. Them or Penn State possibly. Cincinnati, I think, will still be pretty bad, but you never know. Going to Nipper Stadium is going to be tough. Baylor could come back. You never know. It's like 50-50 with some of these teams. Like Baylor could end up being an 8 to 10 win team again next year, or they could be what they were last year and be bad. UCF, a lot of people were expecting to be back. They certainly have one of the best running backs in the conference in Harvey. They added the kid from Arkansas, who was just a load to bring down. Truly a load. He's going to really – the last time that Gus Malzahn had a quarterback like that to run the read option was Cam Newton. And he's very similar to Cam Newton as far as size and stature, not throwing ability really. And then we finished on the road at Texas Tech, and I do think that I really do still trust their coach and the directions they were heading. Not an easy schedule, guys. And when you look at this, it could go – you start out – I think I could foresee – you could see anything from 7 to 10 wins here, possibly even 11. It's such a – it really just depends on how our defense plays at the end of the day, guys. If our defense improves to top 50, if we can get a top 50 defense, we'll win 10 games next year. I don't think anybody can stop us from running the ball unless injuries. You always have to account for that. But if we're healthy, considering that now the wide receiver talent we've added with Bray from Oklahoma State, Rick Darius Farmer, Raymond, who is another 4-star kid that came in, plus whoever else we added in the portal coming up, it could be a really interesting season, guys. So I will do an official prediction video before the season, but I have been trying to take my gold blue colored sunglasses off for this, and it's been really hard. Only because we all took for granted, or at least I did, the years we won so much, where at one point in time, we were one of 7 teams to average 8 wins or more for 10 years straight. That was us at one point in time. We were in a group with seven other teams. That was it. Unfortunately, we're not that anymore, and we have to be realistic about where we've fallen to. A lot of that has to do with the Big 12 and the travel. Although we started making a little more money in the Big 12, the coaching really fell off. You go from Rich Rod to Bill, Stu, and Dana, and those 2 guys, in my opinion, aren't as good as Rich Rod, not even really close. Rich Rod, had he stayed at West Virginia, we all know, probably would have been just an incredible career. It may have gotten stale at some point, but I do believe it would have been really good. We'll never know. I do too, Matthew. He hates having such high expectations. I do too, brother. John Cunningham says, as long as the defense takes a step forward and Garrett stays healthy. Yeah, that's what we need to happen. No doubt about it. All right, guys. If there's any super chats or anything like that, anybody want to direct the conversation a different way, we got 150 people in here. It's hard to keep up with the chat sometimes when it's going that fast. Overall, I've kind of gone over the schedule. Spring practice starts in a week. The spring games in 12 days. We went over schedule a little bit. We went over basically all the starters on the roster. We didn't talk about special teams a whole lot. But I think Garrett Green is going to have an incredible year next year and be in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year. And I think we're going to have a receiver really step up. Somebody mentioned Cole Taylor. I think he's going to do 40 balls, 50 balls next year. I do. I think he's going to do that as long as he stays healthy. And then you look at possibly CJ catching a few more balls next year because he's capable. I really hope they split him out and let him catch some more. He's such a mismatch on the edge. If you throw CJ Donaldson screen passes out on the edge, there's no corner in the country that's tackling him head up. We know that. Yeah, but that's it's over a short span of time. So, he won. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't as good as Rich Rod. The teams that he had, the offensive coordinator that he hired, like he made some pretty bonehead choices. I don't want to bash Rich Rod or Bill Stewart. I love Bill Stewart. All I was saying was that he wasn't as good as Rich Rod. That's all I was saying. That's all I meant. But the Bolin hire and all that was not good for us, obviously. Bo said Honey Tutty explodes this year. Tyler Cobb thinks Garrett Green could be a dark horse for the Heisman. There's no doubt about that as well. No doubt about that as well. All right, guys. Thanks for jumping on with me this evening. Glad you guys I agree, Shaggy. I agree. But glad you guys jumped on. Christus, appreciate you for coming on. I'll answer this before I get off here. Which wide receiver will have a breakout year? I think, I want to wait and see who else we get in the portal first. But if you're going to hold my feet to the fire, it's easily Traylon Ray, right? I mean, he's prepped. He's ready. He's supposed to be the number one guy. He's supposed to ascend to that level. But certainly, I think Huddy Tutty is right there with him as possible number two. Preston Fox could have a great year too, guys. So hope you guys have a good one. Thanks for jumping on. This has been another episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. This episode is over. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you for the spring game. I'm out.